Welcome, my name is Tishar and this is StarMade. I was planning to show some more interior of my Galactic training ship, but something else popped on the scene in between because I had this small idea I wanted to try out. To be more specific, this thing. This is a boarding ramp idea for a small ship, smallish ship. And the idea was to have this boarding stairs ramp-like structure that would be put down or pulled up according to what you need, and then you can walk from the ship to the surface of a planet. So the idea was to create a ship that would be able to land on a planet. So in combination with some landing gear, you get a very nice feel when you land on the planet that you can just walk off your ship into the unknown. That was the plan, at least. I tried the idea, at least for the boarding ramp, and I liked it so much that I continued building and building for more of this ship. Well, let me first show you the boarding ramp a bit. Now it's closed, as you can see, and open. It's a set of stairs. So quite nice. But I had to think of a ship to go with this. So that's what I did. I started out with developing the back of the ship a bit more, because that was where my focus lay for this project, because of the boarding ramp. And I initially planned out how long the ship was approximately going to be, because I didn't want a ship that was too big. So a maximum of 15 meters was big enough for me. I think this would be classified as probably a tier 1 Corvette if you go by StarMade standards for the ships like the Trade Guild. So this could probably be potentially be a Trade Guild vessel that would fit between a frigate, Trade Guild tier 1 frigate, and a fighter, Trade Guild tier 1 fighter, because it's bigger than a fighter but smaller than a frigate. The next thing I did was map out a bit of the profile of the ship. I wanted to have a very pointy front end of the ship, make it a bit more Decker-like, show that it's probably a fast ship. And I wanted these wingy bits at the back of the ship. I think they really fit with the rest of the back end I had developed already over here. And this will fill out some of the blank spaces over there. So this is what I'm going to work on next, and see if I can fill out the main hull of the ship itself. Since I had a maximum length of the ship already determined, I could work on the front of the ship as well. So I designed this particular cockpit, and I posted some pictures on the Discord when this ship was a bit more finished than the state it is in now. And someone mentioned that it looked a lot like the runabout from Star Trek. And they're kind of right. This type of cockpit does look like the classical boxy runabout they had in Deep Space Nine. It's probably what I was thinking of when I was building it, not deliberately, but something similar, I think. But I quite like how much space you have in the front here for a cockpit section. Can put in lots of computer things and seats for the crew. I also started adding these engine pods on the wing bits. So now we have the blue high density thrusters. So they're not that big, but they're very strong. At least that's the idea behind it. And then these red ones, the supplied maneuvering thrusters. And another thing I started working on is implementing the landing gear that would go together with this landing ramp over here. So I put in 2 landing struts here at the back, and then I need 1 at the front, approximately around here, I think, to round off everything so it stays nice and balanced when it lands on the ground. So yeah, I think I've got a general overview of where I want to go with this ship now. I think this state of the ship really shows where I'm sometimes struggling a bit with getting a shape done for a ship, because we've got these very blocky front end because of the slabs. Then how do you translate this to a more smooth hull shape like I've got at the back, and connect everything up that in a way that makes sense, of course. So yeah, I tend to tackle that one section at a time, so I know what's going to be here. I added the middle section in here as well with some additional detail. Then I started on this end, just mapping out the sides of the cockpit, then try to shape it following approximately the line I had already drawn for the shape of the ship, and see where it connects up to the hull at the back, and then go from there. And after I did that, I ended up with something like this. So this is already a fully enclosed shape, more or less at least. There's some holes in here still, but not something I have to concern myself with at the moment. And this looks already like a more or less complete ship. Not really detailed in the way I want yet, but at least I've got a complete fully sealed hull. Same for the bottom of the ship, and as you can see here, I try to bring in a bit of shape to the cockpit area here as well, in the neck area. Then it goes down a bit and then into the back compartment of the ship itself. And this works out very well because it is still a more or less flat surface for the landing studs to pull out from the hull, but still has enough shape to make it interesting instead of only the flat shape. So yeah, I can work with this, just need to detail it a bit more and then worry a bit more about color accents, things like that, to make it look more alive. Usually it's the small things that make a bit of difference in a hull shape. For example, I changed the front end of the cockpit section that connects to the main hull to have these double rows of armor over here. I had the single one in the previous version, because this gives it a bit more body for the cockpit connecting to the rest of the hull. But I didn't quite like the shape as of yet. And this is, I believe, yeah, this version is the first version I showed on the Discord of StarMade, to get some feedback from some people. And they did identify this as a type of runabout ship, like I said before. And I think I quite like that idea to have this ship as a runabout for a trade guild fleet, for example. Because that's not the type of ship they currently have in their lineup at the moment. And I don't have a similar type of ship, I think. I have similar sized ships, but not the ship that's exactly identified as a runabout. And even more small details added to the hull. You see a immediate change, in my opinion, to the shape of the cockpit connection, because I made this a slanted armor piece in place of the straight one I had before, and the shape of the cockpit flows a lot nicer now, I think, than it did before. And I also changed the detail on this wingy bit, or at least this slanted bit here a bit, with this bigger armor piece instead of the three different armor pieces I had before. The bottom of the ship is, well, basically the same, at least some details were added with some line work and some pipes, but that's about it. I did complete the landing gear in this version of the ship already, and if I, yeah, this is the one, press this one, the landing gear comes down over here, two at the back and one at the front, and the back entrance hatch is also lowered. That's just for my testing purposes, that I can everything either retracted or put down. This area will probably be some sort of airlock type room. I don't want a formal airlock in here, but I will add a inner door so it can function as an airlock if needed, because it can be needed, of course, if you have to go out in space. In this version of the ship, I added some final details. For example, I added weapons at the front, at least spots where weapons can be placed. And I started changing up some of the colors here and there, because I was struggling a bit with this ship being too gray. I did get some feedback from the StarMade Discord as well on that we needed some color in this design. It was too much of the basic gray color for the main hull and not a variation to break everything up. And I think they're right. It should be better than this. This is too much gray. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to add a color or not, because I wanted to have this as a trade guild ship, as you can see here with the blue and white flag on there. And color doesn't really work with trade guild ships, at least not a whole lot of it. They have bottom pipes, like I have here in the middle, but they don't have a lot of colored hull. Because I struggled with the coloring of the ship a bit, I decided to do some more work on the interior instead, to keep my mind off things. So now if we go into the area at the back of the ship here, we now have got our sort of airlock with a set of doors at the end over there and a hatch control to close the ramp behind you. So this is not a switch between one door and the next like you have in a normal airlock. This is just a control for the hatch. And then over here we've got a control for these doors. And I have used these doors before in my previous builds. And I quite like them because you can show a bit of the door once it's open on the side. So this opens and closes the door as well on its own. It's not doing anything to the other door. That's not quite right, because if I open this hatch, it will close this door behind you automatically, but it will do anything else once it is closed. So that's only a safety feature. Once you keep both doors open, at least one of them will close. I finally decided on the final color scheme by switching out some of the regular gray armor panels with darker gray. I tried some different colors like blue, but that was too much of a color, and this fits within my theme that I want, and it adds a bit more variation to the overall layout of the ship, I think. So this is what I'm going for, and the same at the bottom of the ship. You've got some lighter gray areas, some darker grays, and some more lighter grays. So it's a bit more varied than it was before, with only the light gray on the hull. I also started working on some more of the interior. So for example, the cockpit over here is quite done, and we've got a spot for 3 people. There's one here for general function of the ship, one for the, well, in this case I've put AI here, and one pilot that can fly the ship, and lots of computers and doodads and other things you can push. And then a door to the rest of the ship that's not there yet. After one more final detail pass of the hull, I added some additional pipes here and there, and some of the corner pieces that I quite like to use in different places. And this hull is, in my opinion, done. And the interior is also done. So if you go into the back of the ship, you can open up the hatch again. We can come up here, it's already shown of course. If we go through here, now we've got some space over here. I decided to set this up as a area where the cargo is stored at the moment. This area is big enough, I think, to add additional functions to the ship if you need it for a specific mission. So you can remove the cargo, then put some machinery here, or perhaps some additional modules that the ship needs. That's why it is a runabout. You can modify it a bit to fit the mission specifics that you need it for. And initially I thought I would have moved the core, but I didn't, because I had this idea for this cool access hatch for the core itself, so it is accessible in this area. Then you press this button, and then this hatch comes up, and you can come in here and access the core and all the other machinery. And of course there's a button in here as well to open and close this hatch. So if you jump out of the core, then you're not closed in if the hatch is closed. And then on this end we have a door to a small hallway over here. And this hallway leads to our living area. So I've got space for 4 crewmen. So 3 for the bridge crew and then 1 for general maintenance of the ship or something like that. And access to a very small bathroom. And a table in the middle for the people to eat. And that's about it. And this leads to the cockpit of the ship. So we've got 3 main areas in the ship: the cockpit, the living quarters, and the back cargo area. So it's not a very big ship, but big enough to accomplish some tasks. And as far as systems go, I did put in some systems, but not a whole lot of thought was put into them because I'm going to change them anyway. So if I go into the menu for the ship reactor, I can show you how I set it up at the moment. I've mainly gone for a very strong ECM setup. So it's got stealth drive, stealth range, stealth jammer. It's a permanent jammer. It can hold it with the power it has. And then after that I've got a bit of chambers for the jump drive, and I added a recon chamber, but that is not defined because I don't have the RC space for it anymore, but we can set it up if we want it, so it's there for you to use, but then you have to probably unselect the stealth jammer. Not sure what you want to lose for that, but you can reconfigure it for a bit more recon chamber use if you want. So that's the setup I've got for this ship. Doesn't really move all that fast because I haven't added all the thrusters in here, but it's enough to move it around and have it in place somewhere to store it until I've updated all the systems. But that's about as much as I'm going to do for this ship, I think. It's quite done for now, and I'm going to test it a bit, see how it performs with landing on planets, things like that. But that's about it until the permanent update for the systems are out, and then I'm going to probably refit it and then release it to the docks for you people to enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this episode with this unexpected ship design. It was unexpected for me at least, because I didn't plan to build this thing, but I quite like it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.